Okay, everyone. So now we are going to talk about cryptanalysis. Okay, so the process of recovering plain text from ciphertext without the knowledge of encryption method or key is what we call cryptanalysis. Okay, so let's say you have a ciphertext, but you do not know the plain text and you do not know the encryption method or the key either, but you still want to crack the code. So that so the process of doing that is called cryptanalysis. Okay, so we have already seen that in case of shift cipher or Caesar cipher, as you know it, you can try out all the possible 26 shifts, and one of them has to make sense. One of them will be the original plain text, and they will make sense. Okay, so but there are other kind of cryptographic process where this trying out all the possible shifts is not really possible because they will be way too costly. They will take way more time. So there is another way to do it, and the main tool for breaking this cryptography or is using the frequency of English letters. Like here I have enlisted the 9 most common letters in English. E will be the most common in English passage. Say you have a passage of English, then it is most likely that there will be 13% of those letters will be E, 9% of those letters will be T, 8% of those letters will be A, and so on. Like all of these are enlisted here. The top nine letters in English. Okay, so all you need to do is check the frequency of that ciphertext. Remember, let's say you have a plain text and there are 13% of E in there. Okay, that's how it should be. So after that you encrypted that plain text, and then E was transformed into some random letter. Let's say E was transformed to Z. Okay, so you now have that ciphertext. You will count all the frequency. You will count the frequency of all the letters, and you found that Z has the frequency. Z has the highest frequency, which is around 13%. So you can assume that E E was transformed to Z. In our original plain text, there was E in place of Z. You can assume that. Okay. Now you have this knowledge. Now you try to find out the key. Let's say you will put it in a function of encryption function. Now you will try to fit a particular k. This is the value of E, and now you will try to find out the I am showing you for the Caesar cipher. Now you will try to find out the value of k such that E is transformed to Z. Okay, so try out some possibilities. You will get some of the values for k, then apply that k on the whole text, and then try to make sense out of it. The if the plain text makes sense from the ciphertext, you already assume a value for k. Now apply that k to decrypt that ciphertext, and after decrypting, if that text makes sense, then you're done. Okay, so what happens if it does not make sense? Then you try the next best possibility, which is T. Then you assume that E was transformed transformed to T. Okay, so now try to find out the special key k for this transformation, and apply that k all over the passages and try to make sense out of out of the plain text. If it does, then you are okay. If it does not, then you go back to next best case, which is A. So in this way you can also decrypt the generalized version of shift cipher, which I already showed you, with two keys A and B. Okay, so this can be done. Now, so this shift cipher, I have shown you that these shift cipher are vulnerable to attacks. Like you can try out all the possible 26 shifts. Also you can try this frequency of English letter and try to decrypt them. So this is not the best way for encryption. So what we can do, we can have another kind of encryption, which we are saying that it is block cipher. Is it visible? Yes, I guess it is. block cipher. Okay, so shift cipher was the process of shift cipher was that replacing each letter of the alphabet by another letter, and it was fixed for the whole passage. If A is replaced by C, and in the whole passage A will be replaced by C, and the shift will be same for all the other letters. You already know the disadvantages of shift cipher. Okay, so now we will introduce a different kind of encryption, which is called block cipher. For this you will need a permutation of a set and a one-to-one function. Let's say you have a set 1 2 3 dot 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 m. Okay, this is a permutation. That means all of the integers from 1 to m has to be present here. 1 2 3 4 5 6, they will has to be sequential, and you will need a one-to-one function 3 1 2 dot, 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 m. Okay, one-to-one function to itself. Both of these set are same. Okay, they are set, so their elements has to be same, but the permutation is different, and there will be a one-to-one relationship from this set to another. Okay, so say something like this. What I mean by that, let's say we have let's give you a smaller example. Let's say we have a small set 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, okay, like this. So let's say the function is defined something like this. Okay, so we can write the function is denoted as sigma here. Okay, so this is our defined function. All we need is this function. Okay, so how will this function help us to encrypt a passage? Okay, let's see that. So as we have only 4 elements in our set, and this is a one-to-one set, so in both sides we have 4 elements. So whatever text we get, we will divide them in blocks of 4 letters. Okay, let's say we have a text. This is our, let's say this is our plain text. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to separate them using a block of 4. Okay, so what happens if we separate them? We have 4 letters here, then we separate out T E A T. Okay, also we completed our block of 4. Okay, like this we'll separate out the plain text using block of 4. Okay, now what we will do, I will just show you for this block only. Let's say okay, so this is our 1 2 3 4. No, sorry, 2 3. Okay, this is 1 2 3 4. Now our function was defined like sigma 1 was equals to 3, sigma 2 was equals to 1, sigma 3 was 4, and sigma 4 was 2. Now here we have p in the first position. So what is sigma 1? Sigma 1 equals to 3. So p will be replaced on place 3, which is here. Now moving on, I, we have I on the second position. Now what is sigma 2? Sigma 2 is 1, so I will go to the first position here. Okay, now R is in the third position, sigma 3 is 4, so R will go to the fourth position here. Now A is in the fourth position in this plain text. What is sigma 4? Sigma 4 is 2, so A will go to the second position here. Okay, so this is our plain text and this is our ciphertext. We have transformed them, and so you can, there is no letter to letter correspondence here, right? You, like say someone just decrypted one block. Let's say pyra was encrypted by IAPR. Let's say someone successfully decrypted IAPR to pyra. Okay, but even then he does not know the letter to letter correspondence. Okay, then P to I, P has been changed by I. It is not like that because it's depending on the position. Let, there can be another block where there is P, but P is not transformed by I in there, right? So that's the advantage here. And if the block is bigger, I showed you only with block of 4. That's how you might think that I can try out all the permutation. If there is 4 permutation, that is 16. You can try out all the 16 combinations. But if you try with bigger block size, then it will get almost impossible to crack because there will be way too many possibilities, right? Then it will be almost impossible to crack the code. Now how can we decrypt it? Like we want to decrypt it, right? So we need a decryption function, and that is very easy. Like this was our encryption function. So we will just try to find the inverse of that. Sigma 1 was 3, so sigma inverse 3 will be 1, sigma inverse 1 will be 2. In the same way, sigma inverse 4 will be 3, and sigma inverse 2 will be 4, right? So we will apply this inverse function on our ciphertext here, IAPR. Then we'll get back the original plain text. How? Let's say I is in the first position. So what is sigma inverse 1? Sigma inverse 1 is 2. So I has to go back to the second position here. Now A is in the second position. What is sigma inverse 2? That is 4. So A will go back to the fourth position. What is sigma inverse 3? 1. So P will go back to the first position, and the rest one is what? R. Okay, so this was encryption, and this is our decryption. It's very easy. Okay, so this is called block cipher because we are encrypting block by block. Alright, so up to now you have been seeing the private key cryptography, right? You had a certain procedure of encrypting, and if that procedure is known, then you can easily decrypt it. So there is a problem in this kind of cryptography. What? I will just show you. Let's say there are two party, Alice and Bob. Okay, let's say there's two party and they're friendly. They want to send some secure information to each other, but there's a third party called Jack who is evil. He wants to interrupt their communication. So what Alice did, say Alice used a private key cryptosystem. Let's say he used a secure key K. He generated a secure key K, and then he encrypted a message with this key, and then send it to Bob. Okay, and Bob is also familiar with the key K, so Bob can easily decrypt the message and read the original plain text. Okay, so the problem is Alice and Bob both must share the secret key first. They must know what is the secret key. They, and that's why they have to communicate the secret key first. Let's say Alice was the one who messaged Bob, so he generated the key K. So at first he will send the secure key to Bob, and now let's say Jack somehow could find out this value of K. Okay, so he knew the value of K. So not only he can decrypt this message. If he got his hands on this message, he can do that. He can do, and Jack can do even more damage. What? Let's say Jack now can compile a message himself, okay, and encrypt it with this secure key K and send it to Bob. Then when Bob gets this message, he will try to decrypt it with K, and after decrypting, he will see that this message makes sense. So Bob will think that this message came from Alice, but that is not the case. So that is a problem here. Okay, so private key cryptography does need this key to be secured first. This key has to be secured. If the key is compromised, then there will be so many damages. So this is one problem with private key cryptography. So to overcome this to overcome this disadvantage, there is another kind of cryptography which is known as public key cryptography. Okay, so before, and public key cryptography is all about number theory. So before jumping on to the theories or how we use the public key cryptography,